Okay, so this video or this interview is pretty much about us working collaboratively and on the ELA content team. So right now we're in the middle of working on STAR and preparing the students for STAR. Were there anything that you thought that we should have addressed in the collaborative meeting that we probably didn't address?
No, I think we hit everything dead on, trying to spiral strategies, trying to make sure that third, fourth, and fifth are all aligned, so we all know, okay, this is what you need for fifth grader, this is what you need for third grade, so there's nothing I think that we miss.
Okay, so how are your students using the strategies?
So,
Are they like, do you see a difference from or any growth from using strategies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So my kids who are at the meets and are almost about to approach, I really stopped a small group as it being like, just focusing on reading comprehension. The first half is literally you doing strategies because those strategies are meant for students like that. It makes you focus. Like, for example, text messages, you're pulling the main idea out of each paragraph. So in order for you to pull the text message, you have to understand what it's talking about.
Right.
And those bubble students struggle with comprehension.
Okay, so when you talk about bubble students, how did you decide which ones are going to be your bubble students?
So I look at my data from the previous standardized tests that we've had, and based on the highest score and the lowest score, I put them in order. And those kids that are in the middle that are like 1 to 2 questions from passing, or your 1 question from possibly failing the test, those are my bubble students.
So, and this isn't necessarily a question, this is more so a statement that maybe because you teach 4th and I'm in 5th. Tell me, do you think this would be beneficial? Because we can pretty much, because we had our alignment meeting, we can pretty much go in and look at TEKS and say across the board which ones influence on the next level. That is something I would not mind tracking, because I would like to know, even on 5th grade level, did they have difficulty with those TEKS in 4th grade,
right,
and difficulty with those TEKS in 3rd grade? And if so, in 3rd grade, how should it have been addressed in order to affect the thinking in 4th grade and 5th grade?
So I definitely feel like there's a discrepancy with TEKS, because we know in 5th grade it's inferencing.
Right.
But in 4th grade, it's just summarizing. They may get 1 or 2 questions that have to deal with inferencing. So they're not properly prepared in 4th grade, because that's not one of those, yes, it's a TEK that appears, but it's not just heavily tested as it is in 5th grade.
So I think my thought process is what lends the brain to developing that skill. And I'm not saying we have to come up with that right now. I'm just saying as a group, we might need to sit down before next year and say, hey, this might be something we might need to add to our tool belt, because we noticed in 3rd grade where this, and I'm saying 3rd through 5th because that's the team.
Right.
We need to start addressing this at this time, so by the time they get here, it's not a huge deficit. Now, on a bigger scale, I do think it should be introduced in pre-K kindergarten, because when you're introducing books in these different reading comprehension strategies, that's something that needs to be taught on the front end, so the mind automatically does it when you get to 5th grade. So that's a thought. So
something that I can appreciate about our group is how you've introduced the backwards planning, because you're starting off from 5th grade, so you're telling 4th grade, hey, what we need to do, and in 4th grade it's like, hey, 3rd grade, this is what you need to do. So therefore we're able to meet those marks as best as possible.
I know even in the meeting we looked at the different item types and read how they are tested in each grade, and a lot of people think, oh, it's just one way. No, there are multiple question types, or the ways the question is formatted that it can be asked. So you need to understand, and I think that's too how we dive deeper into the TEK and understanding what the TEK is actually asking you for. Because I know a lot of times we like to just hit, because this is a whole nother part, that depth of knowledge our brain automatically goes to, you know, 1 or 2, not necessarily focusing on the 3 or the 4.
Right.
But we have to start off at the 4 and pose that question,
Right.
and then take them back to the 1.
Right.
And build back up to 4.
Right.
Instead of, you know, thinking lower level, because they can do it, they just have to be guided.
Right.
So, okay. So this is more of how being on this team has affected you in your instructional strategies and as being an effective teacher. So, how were you able to foster the work of the collaborative team?
So I feel like this team is very necessary because you know that my partner died in the middle of us getting these kids. Like, all right, y'all have grown, now we're here.
Right.
And so now there are 60 kids that don't have a teacher. No one has a plan for them. Yet we are 40 days away from STAR.
Right.
And so the team was necessary because I'm able to depend on you coming to your classroom.
Right.
Hey, I need help. But then going to 3rd grade, hey, I'm not really sure where this is or how to fix this, because, you know, there are a lot of English second language learners.
Yes.
And so that's not my forte.
Yeah.
And so I need that background knowledge in order to prepare lessons for 4 different classes.
And I do think that having Ms. Elizalde on the team and her being the bilingual teacher is very necessary, because we do have a very high population of ELLs, and how you address some of their learning deficits is very different than a regular English student.
Culturally, it makes me kind of sad because I know that they will sit at the back of the classroom because they don't want to be a disruption. They're not going to tell you what's wrong.
Right.
Meanwhile, if you go to Ms. Elizalde's classroom, you see all of the Spanish posters and all of that, and they get really excited.
Right.
So I'm trying to meet them halfway to, you know, help them.
Right. Okay. What professional growth resulted from participation as a collaborative team member?
This sounds very cliche, but it taught me to suck up my tears, put the work in. Yeah. If you put the work in at the beginning, you literally can coast towards the end. When it's time for a STAR, literally the kids, they know what to do. Mm-hmm. You just have to, you know, remind them, hey, I need you to remember your strategies. I need you to keep following through. Although you've been doing this, keep following through.
Okay. What do you think you contributed to the team?
I think that I could, because I'm in the middle, I think that I can see both. Like, I worked in 5th grade for so long, and then now I'm in 4th grade, so I know what these kids need in order to excel in 5th grade. But then 3rd grade, I'm also learning, you know, hey, this is where they're coming from. Some of them kind of have it, some of them need a little bit of growth.
So I'm going to ask this question. Do you ever think that you might want to go to 3rd grade?
Oh, no. 5th grade has my heart, just because they're a little bit more independent. 4th grade is like you literally, because I have like 6 students who have, this is their first year in America.
Yes.
5th grade is kind of like you're molding them, you're building their endurance. 4th grade, you're still learning, you're still a baby.
So I can tell you this too, as somebody who's taught 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You see the progression of what they're supposed to learn. And that's why I ask, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to go down. And it's more so dealing with them emotionally. But as a teacher, it does help with instruction when you understand the process.
Right.
Because a lot of times we work in isolation and we're like, oh, this is what all they need to know. And we never push it to the next level, or never understand why is it that the other grades are reacting, because I know we have those issues here on this campus. Like, we'll say, well, 2nd grade isn't doing enough. And they're like, well, we're teaching the curriculum. No, it's bigger than just teaching the curriculum, because you have to teach for them to go to the next level. It's almost like they're not scaffolding enough. They just stop and leave it where it is and don't push the students farther.
I had to pause for a second when we got our data back, because I'm used to having high test scores. Right. And then when I saw my test scores, I was like, whoa.
But we talked about this.
Right.
It's a progression.
Right.
and especially at the beginning of the year, it's very deflating. And we, as as educators, we take a lot of self-worth in how our students perform. And I can honestly say, I had to sit back, even after 17 years, and say, hold up. They were at home.
Right.
They were at home for 2 years. This is not all on you.
Right.
So it's hard not to take it personally, but you learn to just go in and do the job. After, I'd say it, after a while, you start to notice it doesn't happen overnight, though.
Right.
Because I'm just now seeing things in March that I have been trying to get across to them, in October, November. So I think too, like especially after we got that snapshot data back, we became laser focused. It's like, okay, because even I'm gonna spend my spring break literally going over it with a fine-tooth comb and saying, okay, each child, what is it that you specifically don't know? Because like I gave them the motivational speech the other day. I mean, we're at the point where I've taught you everything. Now it's time for you to take accountability for your own learning. And I'm starting to notice that they are being a little bit more proactive. Hey, I don't understand this. Can I come in for tutorials? Can I come in for lunch and learn? Absolutely, I'm available. But it's just
I'm finally getting those dojo messages. Okay, how can I help? What can I do?
Yes. Yeah. Because it extends past just the classroom. It's the school as a whole. Now, how do you think? Do you think the collaborative team is changing the culture of the school?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because our expectations are completely different. And when we convey, like for our tonight, those conferences where we tell parents, hey, your kid gets a free dress pass to come to the meeting, where we convey our expectations, and it's not going to change because 3rd through 5th is a unit.
Yes.
You're going to have to get with it, or, it's no other choice. You want your child to excel. So I feel like because we're so unified that literally 3rd through 5th, it balances off.
Yeah.
The expectation is, okay, my kid is getting ready to go to 4th grade. I know who the 4th grade teacher is. The 4th grade teacher is cohesive with the 3rd and the 5th.
Yes.
So I absolutely feel like our parent engagement with our expectations has helped.
Okay. So, do you see yourself facilitating a collaborative team in the future?
Yes, 17 years from now.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because I'm going to hand over these reins at some point. So, like next year? Because actually, Ms. Lawson and I have been in discussions about a lot of that too.
I think that's something to think on, pray on.
Because, believe it or not, everything that I facilitate, I've already taught you.
You have.
So.
And I honestly think that's why 4th grade is growing tremendously.
Right, because a lot of the practices that you put into place, it's because, one, we worked on a team together, so you understand my crazy, or what everybody thinks is crazy. And others were very apprehensive to, like, using data to track every student and to drive instruction, even from day one.
Right.
It's a method to the madness.
It is. I'm not tech savvy at all. And so for me to be going into OnTrack and being able to pull data that I've created, like literally it works.
It works.
That little green book of taking notes, and it's not true anymore. And when you have the tools and the teaks, use them because it literally works and it makes it easier.
And I mean, I'm not going to say the little green book doesn't work, because sometimes you still need anecdotal notes for certain things. But when you are tracking the progress of students, those numbers do not lie.
Right.
It's what they know and what they don't know. So